Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, and today I am finally editing the photos of the Milky Way that you guys sent me to edit. All the three photos that we're gonna work today. Well, I received way more photos, but I think this tree has a special challenge that I want to face. Each photographer that I'm gonna showcase here has their social links below. Please check them out. They were really cool to send me these pictures. It's the first time that I'm gonna edit them, so it will be kind of a surprise. Let's start with this picture over here. This picture is Nickey. It was photographed in Sweden with the Sony Alpha 7, so it's the only full frame that we have between the three of them. And yeah, it doesn't represent the work of Nickey. He has an amazing artwork and photography work on his Instagram. He also has a YouTube channel, but his Instagram, it's a really big inspiration, so please check him out. He has really awesome photography. Now, I selected this photo mainly because it is in Sweden, and as it is this extreme far north, it will add us some challenges, some challenges. And one of them is that the Milky Way, it's way down in the horizon because we are further north of the curvature of Earth. We see less of the Milky Way because of that. We will try to recover as much of details as possible on this photo. Yeah, this is mainly why I choose this photo. Let me just check one thing. As you can see, it has a little bit of star trailing. Mainly this is happening because he's using a 28 millimeters lens, and if I do some math over here, so 500, and I think to realize that this Sony has a lot of pixels, so more pixels you have, more the star trails will be visible. So yeah, so 500 divided by 28, it's equal 17, almost 18 seconds of exposure. He had 20 seconds of exposure, so only 3 seconds off. It did a little bit of star trail like this. It's a little bit strange. I don't think this will be a big problem because Instagram size or most of printing size, the star trail won't be visible because yeah, you really have to look pixel per pixel to see this. Still is a really good photo of the Milky Way facing the challenge that he had. Now let's jump to another one. So this is from Marc Slover. This was made in a ghost town called Dehaze, Colorado. I think it's pronounced like that. Marc Slover, it's from Road Trips Adventures, so you can check him out, especially if you like time lapses of the Milky Way or landscapes. He has really awesome clips of that on his social media. Let's talk about this photo. This photo has been photographed with a PENTAX K70. What I think it's a little bit stranger is that he photographed with 15 seconds of shutter speed using 16mm lens, and I think he could go even longer than 16mm. So 500 divided by, let's open parentheses, 1.5, because that camera has a crop factor of 1.5 multiplied by 16 millimeters. Let's close parentheses. So we have 24 seconds. So around 20 seconds, 24 seconds, it could recover like 2/3 of a stop on this image. I think I know why he didn't use the full range of the shutter speed possible with this photo, because he has really no star trailing. It's a perfect still image of the Milky Way. And as you can see, we can see the horns here of the Milky Way. We're going to try to recover that as well. But I think he did this because this is a frame of a time-lapse that he has on his social media. He just picked up the best composed still and send me. Okay, I do understand, because I do as well photograph the Milky Way to time-lapses. And for example, if you want 10 seconds, you have to stay there more than 2 hours photographing the Milky Way. and it's way too long. And the Milky Way will move extremely fast in the sky. If you want to get a smooth and slower transition of the movement of the sky. So it had these reasons, but still is a really good photo of the Milky Way. So I think I will have a little bit of fun editing this image. And as you can see, it has some artificial light in the building. He tried to edit some artificial light, but his artificial light was overcome by cars that pass on the street not far from the spot, and that's why he has a cold light here in the building, and the sky it's a little bit warmer. Let's jump to the next picture. So this photo is from João Mota, and he photographed this with a camera that I advised him. So he is an amateur photographer. Well, let's call it an advanced amateur photographer. He was looking for a good camera to photograph the Milky Way. His budget was 500 euros or lower. That is actually a big budget to buy, well, a camera just to have fun. This picture, it's amazing because Canon M50 did a great job of capturing this photo, and he used the 7 Artisans 7.5 millimeters f2.8. That's why we have a little bit of distortion here. We talked a lot about editing, and the editing, and it's one of the main inspirations for this video. In the editing for a non-professional, it's quite difficult because, well, this is Adobe Bridge, so it costs money every month to have the Adobe software. For someone to just want to have fun with photography, it's getting a subscription. It will get a little bit expensive. So I'm gonna use only free software to edit this picture, and I guess will be a lot of fun because this picture has a big challenge, is that we have this red light from the aeolics, this thing that makes electricity with wind. It's aeolics, right? How do you say it in English? So it doesn't matter. So it has this reddish light that we're gonna try to get rid of. Still, for an amateur, this is a really great photos, and time to time sharing other photos that he made, and he's progressing even better and better. About that lens is extremely cheap. It's around 150, 160 euros. And now there is a new one, the 12 millimeters, and I think it's also really awesome lens to photograph the Milky Way, although you can't go as far with the shutter speed as this lens go. Now the first image that I'm gonna use is this one, and I will just give you the baselines to how I edit the Milky Way, and let's start. So I'm gonna use Camera Raw. You can use Lightroom. It's the exact same thing. It's the exact same technology. So yeah. So there we go, guys. This is the new look of Adobe Camera Raw, so get used to it and let's try this. Just for fun or for giggles, let's just press the auto button and see what it does, and it does something a little bit good enough. Now what I'm gonna do, it says here the exposure, it goes one stop of light over, no more than one stop, only one stop of light, because raw files usually you can push it all the way up to 1. And let's play a little bit with the white balance. Usually tungsten is a good point of start, but not for this image. It's way too blue. Let's dial it down a little bit. Now, if you saw my tutorial in how to photograph the Milky Way, the part of editing, I tell that I like to leave a little bit of blue on the sky and a little bit of warm color on the Milky Way itself, because the blue, it gives it a little bit of depth, and warm colors get a little bit closer. So we have this modular visual thing to do. We're gonna arrive there. For the moment, as you can see, I am pushing this way too hard. I want the blacks to be blacks and the shadows not way too aggressive, because I don't want to simulate a day. I want to be night as well. So like that. A little bit like that. I think it's good. The whites, you don't need to push way too much the whites. A little bit, just a little bit. perhaps. And it's a good point to start. Let's add a little bit of saturation. And for example, if you want to just see what the hell are you doing with fade colors, because well, it's night photography. Usually, I just crank up the saturation. Now I have a clear idea which colors I gonna work on the white balance. Okay, so something like that. It's good enough. And let's dial down. Let's dial down a little bit the saturation, like so. There we go. Now the basic it's done. Let's work with the curves. Now the curves, I like a lot to work with the curves because you can add the contrasts. Well, you can really push the contrast here, but it's not a controlled contrast as I like to use in the curves. So let's try to push the blacks down. As you can see, the blacks on the Milky Way, it's getting darker, but everything is getting darker. So I'm gonna push back up. Now there is a new cool thing that exists on Photoshop and Lightroom and it didn't exist in Camera Raw and now does exist. It's this icon over here. You can click this icon over here, and as you can see, when the mouse goes over the picture, you look at this screen, you can see which area of the curve you're gonna change. So this is pretty damn good. For example, I don't want this to be too bright, I'm gonna push it down, and I can push it up to be brighter. This is really, really cool. So I can go bright here and a little bit darker here. As you can see, we can really play with this a little bit. Just recover a little bit of the shadows. There we go. Now, there is a bunch of problems that I am adding while I am editing this picture, but we're gonna address them in a little bit. Now what I'm gonna do is go to optics. I really like to work with optics, and it's already activate the profile corrections. Now, by default, I just click to remove the chromatic aberration. So just to make my point, I'm gonna zoom in to 100% and use the space to go around. So as you can see, there is some chromatic aberration here, and when I activate it, it removes a little bit. It needs to remove way more. So, but before that, let me just check if the lens correction is doing me a favor or not. Actually, yeah, it's good. So I'm gonna leave it as so, but the chromatic aberration correction, it's not good enough for me. I want to correct a little bit more, please. So let's go to manual and let's remove the amount of purple a little bit. As you can see, it's get a little bit better, and yeah, I guess it's good. Now we can click this eye icon to see what we are doing, and I hope the YouTube compression doesn't ruin this this thing that I am doing. No, now this is getting way too detailed for a tutorial like this, but yeah, this is how usually I do it. So let's keep going. So optics, it's good. I see that the image it's a little bit sideways, so I'm gonna correct this immediately. So let's press A to the shortcut and let's correct the horizon here up like so. And if you want to publish this on Instagram, it's always a good idea to, because this is a vertical image, to 4x5 like so. And let's recover a little bit the ground over here. And yeah, I really like this composition. The Milky Way, it's just above the farm here. It's really nice. Double click to accept the modifications. Let's zoom in a little bit. So yeah, less work. We remove some pixels that we don't need for Instagram. So next what we're gonna do is work on the details. In the details, it's quite important because I want to use some noise reduction, and let's go in detail about this. How do I use the noise reduction here? So let's zoom in to 100% of pixels, and I'm gonna go down here just to get a feeling of what is happening first here, and then I'm gonna go back up to the stars to see what is happening. Now I want to have the advanced features on the noise reduction. So in noise reduction, what I usually do is go way too much on the noise reduction, like something like 50. There we go. It's way too aggressive, but I can see on this advanced details here what I am doing here. So the color noise reduction, it's pretty damn good. Let's try to reduce it a little bit to see if we don't lose too much detail. Now like so, and let's go to the details and add. As you can see that the noise is coming back if I really crank this up. So around here, it's good enough. And the smoothness, actually I'm gonna remove a little bit of smoothness. I want the details to be a little bit sharper. So I am treating this with the noise reduction as I would for a print, and I cropped it as it would be for Instagram. So yeah, I'm doing really stupid things here, but it's okay. And now I'm gonna go to the stars somewhere around here. I think it's good, and let's try to reduce the noise without hiding too much the stars. So this is a full frame camera, and the Sony, especially the Alpha 7, they are pretty damn good at higher ISO, so the noise reduction, it doesn't need to be way too much. So around 29, I think it's good. And there you go, details done. Now you also have calibration of colors and stuff like that, but what I am actually gonna do is start to work a little bit on this way too much visible light pollution over here. So what I'm gonna use is the gradient tool. So let's use the gradient tool. Everything is zeroed out, and I want to activate the mask so I have an idea what I am doing. So to do that, I press Epsilon, and let's do a transition from here to here. If you want to change the color, I really like to use green. If you want to change the color, you can change the color here of where the presence of this filter will be applied. And from here to here, it looks good enough. A little bit way too much, maybe. And let's put it like so. I think that is good. Now, I'm gonna just remove a little bit the yellow and remove a little bit the greens as well. Not too much, just a touch. There we go. Looks a little bit better. Now let's keep going with the details. So I'm gonna add a brush here. So I'm gonna use the brush. So press K for the brush. Right click to pick up the size. So I need the feather to be way bigger. And there we go. And bigger. Something like that. So I'm gonna just cross like this, press Epsilon again to see what I am doing. This is really, oh, the density is 31. Let's crank all the way to 100%. So there we go. And I'm applying to almost everywhere on this picture. So the cool thing is that you can erase this. So let's press here and shift, press here. So as in Photoshop, in Camera Raw, you can press shift to make a line. So let me just do this really small so you guys have an idea. So I click here and I want to do a straight line. Here, I just press shift on the keyboard, and as you can see, I can do a straight line. So let's Control Z here, and let's make this one bigger, and the flow and the feather a little bit less aggressive. Press here, and just make a little bit of cleaning here. Up. It's about good, and let's put that density smaller and a smaller size. Yeah, I know this is getting a little bit boring, so yeah, let's deactivate the mask viewing, and I'm gonna warm up a little bit the Milky Way, just a touch. So like that, the Milky Way will pop a little bit out and a little bit more contrasty between the both of them, and I'm gonna go down, and I'm gonna work with the texture, clarity, and dehaze. Dehaze, it's usually used to remove fog or foggy pictures, but in night skies it does magic and not in here. So just be a little bit careful. Now it's not working properly, so let's just play a little bit with the texture. Yes, and a little bit with the clarity. Yes, and up too much. There we go. If you try to play way too aggressive with this, it doesn't really work that well. So two, it's good enough. And let's add a little bit of contrast, like so. And I want the highlights to pop a little bit better, and the blacks to be black. There we go. Better. Better and not better at the same time. I want this to be a little bit more visible. And now I see that I have to go back to the basic correction here, and let's play a little bit with the dehaze. Again, I need to be extremely careful to not overdone this, and a little bit of texture, because the texture will really make pop up the stars, but you need to be careful because maybe it will be way too aggressive to print, but for Instagram it's awesome. So texture, it really can push this a little bit. I want the Milky Way to pop up a little bit more, so I'm gonna just use another brush here. I'm gonna do it from the top, so the icon will be different from the top here, like so. And I'm really gonna just be way too aggressive with the exposure here. So let's add a little bit of light. There we go. And now what basically I'm doing here, it's in Photoshop it's called burn and dodge. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do here. So I'm gonna push this way too much, and let's just erase what we don't want. So the black areas of the image, I want it to, and let's burn a little bit. So I'm gonna add another brush, and the exposure will be now half a stop to dark, and let's just paint the dark areas so the Milky Way will be a little bit more visible. There we go. So I'm gonna reselect this area and try to bring a little bit the color here of the Milky Way, so it's a little bit more visible here. There we go. So yeah, a good idea before just wrapping up, just save everything and go away. It's a good idea to just press done. Okay, go take a coffee, go out with friends, sleep or whatever, and then come back a little bit later to continue work on this image. Okay, it's a good idea to come back with the fresh eyes and say that maybe this is not good, maybe this is way too much, maybe something. So there we go. But for the moment, I think this image is not bad. So now let's work on Marc's PENTAX photo, and let's do this. So the basic stuff, I'm gonna go just accelerate the video to the basic editing as I already showed you on the image before. So yeah, let's speed this up. Here we are hitting a wall, an important wall here. It's this building over here. Now the Milky Way is getting closer of what I want. Let me just add a little bit of brush here. So as you can see, I want burn-in dodge this image because it looks already really good. Okay, let's face the problems here. So this building, because it was receiving lights from the cars passing the road on the back, it's extremely out of place. So let's try to correct this first. So there is two ways to correct this. You can actually make a mask as so. So green on green it won't work. So let's select a red color. So I'm gonna go here, and as you can see, auto mask is activated, and I can paint. The density is 44. Let's put it 100, and I actually can paint without spinning the color to. So it's actually making a mask. So it will give a lot of work. That's not exactly what I want, but actually, if I remove the green, you can see that is actually a pretty damn good solution, but that is not what I'm gonna use. I'm gonna select this guy and delete, and I'm gonna use a gradient like up, like so, really a really bad gradient over here. Let's select the mask. As you can see, it's doing affecting all this area here. And now I'm gonna go down here and range mask, and I'm gonna use the luminance as a reference, and I want to visualize that. And let's remove the dark areas that we don't want to affect. There we go. So we're gonna check out what this parameter will change. So if I try to warm up a little bit this building, remove the green, yeah, it's looking way better. And add a little bit of yellow as well, and remove a little bit the exposure and the highlights. And it looks like it should be on this place. Still, it's a little bit too green. Let's push this a little bit and remove the contrast and remove the lightning on this image over here. So you can see that it's spilling on the corners here that I don't want that to happen. So I am obliged to use this brush tool with the auto mask, and let's activate the to view the mask options, and let's try to paint. So I don't want the feather to be way this aggressive, and I want, oh, the auto mask is not working properly. Let's remove with the auto mask activated as well. Okay, let's remove the mask and see if we can remove again a little bit this red, a little bit more yellow, because it looks like an area that you should have a little bit of yellow, and add a little bit of darkness. So this is a good solution. Another way to try to fix this, it's use the color mixer. Okay, now I'm gonna do something quite stupid. I'm gonna delete the masks that I did here and the gradient as well. There we go. And now I'm gonna use the color mixer as a way to try to fix this. So you can use color if you can use this. This is really light, roomy look. I prefer the HSL, so hue, saturation, luminance, and you can activate all the panels. If you have a 4K screen, this is looking really nice, but it's not my case, so yeah, let's work with this. So let's activate the point here, and let's select this area over here and try to push it back. You can see that the house now, it's getting a little bit with a proper color of the mood of this image. Let's pick up a little bit the saturation as well, unsaturate a little bit, and of course the luminance, and put it back a little bit here as well. Of course the yellow as well. It actually looks quite nice. So I regret to remove the gradient a little bit. So I'm gonna add it again. So there you go. Add the gradient and remove a little bit the contrasts and reduce the exposure and the whites in the highlights a little bit. There we go. Now it's affecting everything. I don't want to affect everything. Let's select, yeah, let's use the range like so, yes. And as you can see, I am affecting also the Milky Way when I want to affect all the building. So let's overcome with the erase tool again to the rescue and just, just shift press and just remove the areas that I don't want this correction to be applied on. There you go. Let's record it here. Here. There you go. There you go. That's fine. So let's add visualize map and aha, it looks way better. If I select the brush again, I want to add a little bit more contrast on this area over here. So Dehaze, it's already pushed a little bit, but I want to add a little bit of more texture. And there we go. Looks way better. As usual, it's a good idea to save this. Let's press just done and come back later and redo this. Now then, not bad, not bad. So let's now edit the Canon M50 photo from João Mota, and yeah, this is going to be a challenge because I'm going to only use free software that amateurs or advanced amateur can use and edit their raw images really easily. So the software that I'm going to use, it's Digital Photo Professional 4, offered by yours truly, Canon. So each brand has its own software to edit their raw photos, and they are quite good. So it won't have the graphics acceleration like Adobe has and or stuff advanced like that, but they are really good editing software tools. So it's a little bit clunky sometimes, but yeah, let's edit this photo. Double click. I already played a little bit with this software to get a little bit familiar, and I'm gonna just put this a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna remove all the distractions as much as possible because this software is quite a doozy, and it's okay. Go back. So it's quite a doozy for this software. So we're gonna just really put this histogram over here, just try to figure how this will work, and one click to zoom in, and navigate on the picture, one click to zoom out, and we have our tool palettes over here, and yeah, let's try to work with this. Tungsten is a good way point of start, so let's select one bright adjust, so that's the exposure, okay. And the white balance, you can use it by hand, and usually tungsten, it's a little bit not far from tungsten, but you can use just the color temperature that you want. Let's cool it a little bit down. Yeah, we have a beautiful blue sky over here. Yeah, looking good, looking good. So let's activate light optimizer. It's like texture, adding texture on camera raw or Lightroom, and let's just put it a little bit in the low side. So actually I would put it low to prints and standard to Instagram. So let's work this like it would be for Instagram. So let's put this is a landscape. So yes, now Canon, it's readjusting and readapting to what I am asking. It's quite good. So I think the blue it's way too strong. Yeah, there we go. Fine tune color. This is really advanced stuff. You have the gamma adjust. So usually camera raw it's quite smart with auto color correction. Not really with the Milky Way, but let's try with the Canon software. No, no. Control Z. And here is our histogram again, and we can play a little bit with this area. So you can see that the dark areas, you can push it back, push it up. That's nice. Now, I'm having a little bit of fun with this. Yeah, let's leave it as so for the moment. Let's add a little bit of contrast. It kind of works. Sometimes, actually in the Marc photo, I actually remove the contrast and add it with curves. I'm gonna use the same technique here. And let's remove a little bit the shadows. I like to have a little bit dark. And as I am seeing the sky, I am ignoring the corrections here for the moment. But as you can see, the sky, it's a little bit way too blue, so I'm gonna just add a little bit of light. You also have some interesting tools over here. Let me just make a mix of both of them. Unsharp mask, sharp. That's way too aggressive. Yeah, but it really works really well. Now, let me just look for noise reduction, because that actually will help a lot on this picture. In detail, you have the noise reduction. This is usually on expensive and paid software that you have the noise reduction, like Lightroom or Camera Raw. But here in Canon software, you can actually have it for free. Well, not for free because you already bought the camera. So yeah, let's reduce Mourier. It's not making a big favor. So let's leave that so. The sharpness is back here. Actually, I really like the sharpness that it's doing. Let's reduce a little bit. And let's reduce the chromatic noise. It's already pretty damn good, but let's see what it does. Nice. And let's reduce the noise. Oh, way too much. Let's reduce a little bit more. Nice. Real nice. So there we go. If we select the lens here, as you can see, as the lens data, it's not available. It can't apply the lens corrections that it has on its database. So it's not a Canon lens. So yeah, that doesn't work, but doesn't mean that we have a pretty damn good result. So yeah, try to explore how to correct this blue first and then this red after. So what I'm gonna do now, it's go to color adjusts, what we usually have in Lightroom as well. So it's the HSL, and let's go to the blue and remove a little bit the saturation. There we go. And this blue, yes, a little bit more like so. And lightening a little bit less or a little bit more. Let's leave it somewhat like that. Yeah, let's leave it so that's more like it. Now, let's try to correct this reddish stuff over here. We have here, I will use the color adjustment tool here, but you also has adjustments areas set. So let's wait to load. There we go. You only have 5 areas that you can paint, and you can set a new area. So I need to change the size here, and actually I can paint. So just to understand if I'm doing it correctly, I'm gonna just crank up the brightness to way too much, and let's just try to paint. And if I am patient enough, I can get a pretty damn good result. There we go. Let's remove this part and zoom by hand. So I don't have a better zoom control here. Come on, Canon. This is not good. And let's try to correct as well his face over here. Now, another problem that I saw on this software is if you make a mistake with the brush, you can control Z, but you cannot erase. So you don't have the erasing options. There you go. So let's press Z. No. Set. Okay, let's go here. There you go. There is a really bad work here of painting, but if you're a little bit more patient than I am, you can do a better work here. So let's remove the brightness, and let's remove a little bit of brightness to see what happens. Yes, the hue, let's play with the hue a little bit. It's getting pink, and it's getting a little bit yellow. That's way better, and remove the saturation quite a lot. That's much better. It looks a little bit way more natural. Of course, I have to paint this properly, but as you can see by now, it's getting better. So this is way too much light for an area like this, in my opinion. Yours may vary. And yes, as you can see, it doesn't have graphics acceleration, so I move the thing and then poof, the effects take place. It's a little bit annoying. And also what is a little bit annoying is the spills of colors that I have here. So we're gonna just move here, pick up again the brush, and let's get it a little bit bigger. Yes, like so. Okay, forget about shifting more here, shift more here. Yeah, it's possible if you have a lot of patience, it will work. Okay, let's go back. But of course, I'm gonna use the other solution that I think it's way more handy than this. So I'm gonna just deactivate this effect and let's try the other solution. Image adjustment color. Now, let's remove the saturation of the reds and magentas. Actually, before we reduce the saturation, I'm gonna just play with the hue to see if I can correct this a little bit. Because it's hue, it's shifting the color, so it's not really working as the white balance. So yellowish, it's more natural than actually red, and let's go where the saturation go a little bit back and remove the lightning. And of course you could actually just push this really aggressive and here you will have a vignette, but it's not the point of this video. Is just try to fix this. And of course, if you are way more patient than I am being right here, you will get way better results. There you go. Now, let's try to push some details on this Milky Way over here. And here we have the curves to try to figure out. Yeah, and I'm gonna work with the luminance. It's way better like that. So let's try to add some contrast on this image like so. Nice, looking way better. Nice. Let's go back to adjust specific areas. This is kind of a nightmare to work with, but yeah. Let's work with the 2 and let's just push this way too much away from the necessary. Let's add some blur, and again, as we can't really erase this, it's a good idea to get it right at the beginning, and let's just go reduce the size slowly. There we go. Now let's put this back to 0 and let's add a little bit of contrast. Getting there. I want to add a little bit of yellow tone, and let's pump it a little bit of saturation. The hue is a little bit way too aggressive. There you go. Now let's do some burning and dodging. So again, 50. Let's add some point here. Now actually go the blur radius are gonna way all the way to the top, and this a little bit smaller. So I'm gonna add some dots where I want the image to be brighter. There we go, and let's just reduce this a little bit. I just want a suggestion of light over here, and let's use the 4 to be the opposite. So again, really small area. Let's add some dark areas over here. This Milky Way. Yeah. When you have way less maneuver, this gets really hard. So let's just suggest a little bit of darkness like so. There we go. I'm not happy with this blue area. Okay, that's better. As you can see as well, when I try to correct the reddish color, it gets rid of the light pollution as well a little bit. But there you go. If you are really patient, you really can get professional looking grading with this image. So let me just play a little bit with the shadows. There we go. Now that's nicer. Usually it's a good idea actually to export multiple images of this and try to combine them in something like Snapseed or something like that. I won't show on this tutorial because this is getting way too long, right? Thank you everyone that sent the images to be edited. So drop a like if you learned something, comment down below if you have any questions, and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. I am Miguel, until next time, see ya.